Welcome back. In this video, we're stepping on board Delta Airlines and heading to Lima, Peru in business class. As a bonus, the aircraft on this route is unique, but not for long. Is this business class experience something you should seek out before it disappears? What is it really like to fly Delta One, and is it worth your money? Stick around and find out. Join us as we take off to South America and fly to Lima, the capital of Peru, on board Delta One. Welcome to Travel at Random. We're Trevor and Ryan. This channel started out of a love of travel. We're here to share unbiased and self-funded trip reports, hotel and flight reviews, and travel advice. We hope we inspire your next getaway. Check out our playlist in the description and browse the channel. If you enjoy the video, please hit that like button and subscribe to keep up with our latest content. Thank you for watching. Now, let's pick up our trip in Atlanta. Welcome to Atlanta Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport, the busiest airport in the world by passenger volume. If you've seen some of our other Delta reviews, you know we pass through this airport frequently. ATL is Delta's headquarters and main hub. This summer, Delta will operate nearly 1,000 flights daily to more than 200 destinations. The airport is divided into several floating concourses, each accessible by an air train or by walking if you're looking to get in your steps. Most international flights leave from the E and F gates. Today's flight is leaving from E. But before we get on board, let's go check out the newest Delta SkyClub in Atlanta. ATL has 8 Delta SkyClubs, 1 in each concourse and 2 in A. Our tickets in Delta One give us access to the Delta SkyClubs today. Our layover was scheduled to be 1 hour and 50 minutes, but ended up being a little bit longer than planned. We decided to head over to the brand new Delta SkyClub in Concourse D. This club is accessed with a large open staircase or via elevators. This is the largest Sky Club in Atlanta with over 500 seats and 24,000 square feet. It opened in April and features a Southern-inspired design. There's large windows, dedicated soundproof workspaces, a large food buffet, and 2 beverage areas. The new club is open and dramatic. The central bar is large and, like all Sky Clubs, offers complimentary drinks. Premium drinks are an extra cost, which you can pay for with Sky Miles if you like. This club is situated on top of the terminal building and offers great views on both sides. That's our aircraft parked at the E gates, and the blue color is from the window tint. We were flying through on a holiday, so the club was relatively quiet. The clubs in Atlanta don't normally look this empty. This Sky Club also features restrooms, which were clean and spacious. Overall, this is a great lounge addition to Atlanta and featured a good selection of food, drinks, and seating options. You'll typically find a similar food spread across all of the clubs in Atlanta. Boarding was delayed by about an hour due to the late arrival of the incoming flight. Since this flight was heading to a Spanish-speaking country in South America, the announcements were primarily in Spanish. The English announcements were, funny enough, shorter and less detailed. This flight the day before us was diverted and canceled, so our plane went from about 2/3 full to completely full as Delta worked to accommodate the delayed travelers. Delta's latest boarding process uses biometrics, so each person has their face scanned. Boarding passes and passports are not needed, but keep them handy just in case. This process is a bit slower than the traditional boarding process. They don't use this on all flights, but we've seen it fairly consistently used on international flights out of Atlanta. Today's flight to Lima is on board an Airbus A350-900, but it's not like Delta's other A350s with the Delta One flagship suite. This one is a unique configuration. Delta Airlines acquired this plane from LATAM in 2022. There are just a few in Delta's fleet, but not for long. We'll explain more in just a moment. This A350, designated by Delta as the 35L, has the highest passenger capacity in Delta's fleet, at least until the new A350-1000s are delivered. Delta has been using these aircraft on routes where they need capacity, such as Atlanta to Amsterdam and our flight to Lima. There were 5 of these aircraft originally. 2 have been refit with the new Delta One suites. As of the time of this script, it looks like this fleet will fly in this configuration through early October 2025, before they undergo refits as well. So if you want to try this seat, you had better hurry. This cabin features a 2-2-2 business class with 5 rows at the front of the plane, for a total of 30 Delta One seats. Almost all modern business class cabins are 1-2-1, but since we are usually traveling together, this worked out for us. If you are a solo traveler, fair warning, there is a severe lack of privacy. And if you don't want to climb awkwardly over your neighbor, pick an aisle seat. For comparison, all of Delta's other wide-body aircraft feature a 1-2-1 Delta One cabin. Boarding was from the L2 door behind Delta One, so the business class cabin was calm and leisurely. We are in seats 1E and 1F in the bulkhead. All seats in this cabin have the same footrest and legroom, so there's no real advantage or disadvantage to the bulkhead. Each seat had Missoni branded bedding, including a pillow and duvet. There's also an amenity kit, headphones, and a large bottle of water at the seat. This flight also featured Delta's brand new mattress toppers, which are now available on all Delta One flights. These seats, especially C and D, the middle pair, were pretty exposed to the galley and restrooms, as the curtains have been removed. If you're planning to sleep, you may not want to be in row 1. These seats are 23 inches wide and fully lie flat. However, they are only 74 inches long when fully flat. Thankfully, this is a daytime flight, since Trevor is 6'4" and could not lay down completely. The seat was a bit firm, but had plenty of legroom. It would have been difficult for an overnight flight due to the length of the bed, but the openness allows for a lot of flexibility in position. If you're less than 6 feet tall, it's probably great. Across from each seat is a small footrest with storage. The compartment was big enough to fit the mattress topper and amenity kit, or your shoes. However, there was nowhere to store a small carry-on bag, such as a backpack. Everything must go up above. The cabin is definitely more open than other modern business class cabins, but still has the center overhead bins, so there was plenty of storage. Each row had 2.5 windows. The interior was showing quite a bit of wear and tear. The tray tables are a bit on the small side, and mine didn't fully retract. Each seat featured a universal power plug and a USB-A port. These are tucked into the center console along with the headphone port, and a little hard to see, but the location was pretty convenient. The little cubby they are in is a good place to store your devices as they charged. There is a decent sized counter between the seats and 2 very adjustable reading lights. There's also a small privacy divider. Emphasis on small, it didn't really make a difference. There's another open storage bin between the ottomans across from the seats. There was a lot of accessible storage in the seat. Again, just not a space to store a backpack or a small carry-on. One of the other things that made this a great flight was the crew. They were friendly and engaged from start to finish. Pre-departure sparkling wine was served, and the pilot came by with postcards with handwritten welcome messages for each Delta Medallion member, which is a nice touch. As frequent Delta flyers, we can say the flight crews are some of the most pleasant we encounter. Each seat has an 18-inch screen with remote control. Due to the distance, these are not touchscreens. The IFE had a very basic version of the normal Delta system, but it had movies, shows, and a moving map. This was not the same as Delta's standard system, and the interface was a little bit hard to navigate. The map, for example, could only be accessed under the time left countdown on the screen. Delta does provide noise-canceling headphones to use on board. They're decent, but not great. Delta offers pre-flight meal selection 7 days ahead of your departure. There are the standard meals which will be available for selection on board, and usually 2 or 3 limited selections only available when you select your choice more than 24 hours in advance. This flight departed mid-afternoon, so I think this was a dinner service. First up, a hot towel, and then drink service with warm mixed nuts, and we started off with a couple of gin and tonics. Slightly surprisingly, dinner service began almost immediately after, so it felt a little bit rushed. The starter and entree came out on one tray. The starter included poached shrimp with a citrus aioli, a mixed green salad with blood orange dressing, and warm rolls complete with the Atlanta-made Banner butter. For this flight, I went with the coconut curry prawns. These were good, but with only 3 shrimp, it was a bit light for an entree. The shrimp were well cooked and not tough. Trevor selected the braised lamb served on Parmesan risotto with sauteed kale and mushrooms and pickled onions. This entree was a good size. He said it was flavorful and the onions provided a nice pop of acid. Due to the pacing, we ended up getting a glass of the Bordeaux wine after dinner. Delta One offers a reasonable selection of beverages, but this plane had a slightly truncated list. Wines in Delta One are poured from the bottle. There was no champagne, but sparkling wine was available. As we mentioned, we tried the Bordeaux, which was decent. The flight attendant was back frequently for top-ups. Dessert was a selection of cheeses or a pineapple upside-down cake. Unfortunately, no ice cream sundaes on this flight. We both enjoyed our meals, but felt that the pacing of dinner seemed rushed for a 7-hour daytime flight. Everything came out quickly, but given this was not a red-eye, it could have been a bit more spaced out. After a conversation with the purser, we found out that Delta considers this a Delta One light route, which is why it was a single tray service. It also explained why the onboard beverage selections were a bit more limited than what you would normally find in Delta One. The wine selections were decent, but not as elevated as some of Delta's other long-haul routes. Dinner was great. Dessert was good, but not remarkable. The crew were active throughout the flight, offering refills often. About 90 minutes before landing, they came by with a pretty standard Delta snack basket with bags of chips, crackers, sweets, and such. This is similar to the snack basket that appears on Delta domestic first-class flights. For comparison, we flew LATAM from Lima back to Atlanta, and they served a second hot snack before arrival. We made a video of that flight. We'll link it down in the description. Make sure to check it out. We were in their new business class product. And soon enough, it was time for our descent into Lima. We parked at the brand new terminal, which just opened in June. Deplaning was quick and efficient. The new airport had a bit of an unfinished feel to it in some areas, but the signage was in place and helpful. Immigration was quick and painless, and our bags came out in a reasonable amount of time. We were excited for this trip to experience this unique cabin configuration before it's phased out. The reviews we had seen were mixed. The 222 setup is dated and would be a major consideration if you were not traveling together with someone. The seat was comfortable for a mid-range flight, but not something we'd want to be in for a long-haul overnight flight. I think if you're on the shorter side, that would make a significant difference, and you'd likely enjoy the seat and unrestricted space more. For example, the Delta One suites have a footwell, and these do not. Service was good, as we normally find on Delta. But the fact that they market this as Delta One, but have a Delta One light service is a little misleading. In the end, for the fare we paid, we enjoyed this flight and would book it again. This was one of the cheapest Delta One round-trip fares we've ever seen. Delta is flying the new A350 with suites every other day on this route, and soon will retire this cabin entirely. If you're tall, you may want to check the seat map before booking to see what aircraft is flying the route. If you're looking for main cabin tickets, this aircraft features a standard 333 configuration. There are several rows of Delta Comfort with extra legroom, but these 35L aircraft do not have Delta's Premium Select cabin, which is premium economy with a wider seat. As we said, for a 6.5-hour daytime flight, this was a comfortable way to fly to South America. Delta's service is friendly and consistent. Overall, we think this was a good value for the fare paid. If you like this video, please hit that like button and subscribe to stay up to date when we release new content. It really helps out the channel. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next adventure.